Good morning, everybody. It is 2021. Thank the good Lord above. We are here. We're moving forward. Oh, it feels
We're
good.
here. We're alive. We survived 2020.
We did. Everybody survived 2020. Majority of people survived 2020. So we're back. We took a short little holiday break and gave ourselves much needed rest. And we are out cranking it up yet again, getting ready for a really solid, good, prosperous 2021. So happy New Year.
Happy New Year. In Switzerland, we say a good slide into the new year.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's what we're
Sweet.
doing.
All right. So we're going to get right into it. It's going to be an interesting week this week. And we know, if you've been following the show, you know that this is not a political show. This show is about looking past the politics, but figuring out how things are going to impact businesses and particularly you folks in the HR world. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yes. And to be very clear, when Brenda says this is not a political show, she really means it.
Mhm.
We are not going to talk about our political preferences
Nope.
at all because they're irrelevant.
That's right. But we're all going to talk about a very interesting week this week. So it has been announced widely in the news over the weekend that we are expecting here in the US for several senators to go ahead and start the process of challenging the election, which will enact potentially the 12th Amendment of the Constitution. And that means that election numbers, if the challenge goes through and is accepted at the Senate, that it is very likely that the Senate is going to be forced to vote. And that means that the election outcome could potentially change. Now, after that has just snapped your spinal cord, hopefully you're not driving. Hopefully you are just like right where you need to be. But here's here's what we're talking about and we're looking at. We need to be prepared for everything and anything that could happen as a result of this. Um, and what we're going to talk about today is we're going to give our feedback and explain what we perceive or what we could uniquely see between the two of us. What could happen if the Biden administration stays in place or the Trump administration continues for another elected term? And that's what we're going to look at.
And I think it's very important for HR practitioners to know that your own political views don't play any role in how you carry out your job.
Yes.
They have to be according to the law. And so if the law changes, you've got to change what you do because that's the law. You can vote however you want, that's fine. But if the law changes, you don't get to say, well, I would have preferred that the other guy was president, so I'm going to do it this way. We gotta comply with the law. So that's what we're going to talk about is those things that we think are going to change either way.
Right, exactly. And how it could potentially impact business. So, all right. So this week, so we're getting ready for this showdown. So first and foremost, I think before we even get into the weeds on this, you guys have to understand and realize that your employees are going to be wrapped up in this. And the whole world literally is going to be wrapped up in this. I think this is probably going to be the second highest, second biggest topic of 2020 one as it's hard to say 2021. We're not into that jive just yet. It's 4 days in and I haven't yet adopted 2021 as my moniker. But it's gonna be one of the biggest topics because it impacts so much. So that means that your employees are going to be very distracted.
Right. But we'll all come through it on the other side.
Listen to that laugh.
You know, there are some advantages to living across the pond. But I will say that the Swiss news seems to follow American politics a lot more closely than it follows Swiss politics. That's because Swiss politics are boring. And someday I'm going to do a post on my blog that consists of pictures of Swiss campaign posters because it's like you were running for 7th grade class president is what they look like. But anyway, that's another topic. Let's talk about what will change if Biden takes over.
Okay.
And
Kick it off.
for HR people, one of the biggest things is that the president appoints members of the National Labor Relations Board, and they serve for 5-year terms. So it's not a matter of Biden comes in, and by February, the entire board is filled with Biden appointees. That's not how it works.
Nope.
But he will slowly and surely change the makeup of it, which right now leans heavily towards people appointed by Trump, because it's a 5-member, 5-year team that rotates. And actually right now there's only 4 members because reasons, I have no idea. You're going to see, we saw over the last 4 years, the NLRB becoming more business friendly and less employee friendly. And I think we'll see that switching back. Some of the things that have changed is more flexibility for employers' social media policies. And I think we'll see some of that brought back under a Biden administration.
I also think it's possible too that if that's going to happen, that may happen later in term. And the reason
Yes,
that
won't be tomorrow. That will, it will be a slow but sure thing.
Yeah.
And it's something that HR people need to watch, because it will happen. There will be changes, and you can't just ignore it.
No. But here's the thing. An incoming president, realistically, in a 4-year term, only has the first 18 months to get their political agenda up and going. After 18 months, then they start focusing in on mid-year elections. And after the mid-year elections are done, then what happens is that they are focusing in on the next campaign run if they are going to be running for another term, second term. So, excuse me, realistically, they only have the first 18 months to get something accomplished. Now, in the first 18 months of a Biden election, I really believe that Biden is going to be focused in on trying to reverse some of the things that Trump has put into place. Whatever those things are, I don't know, but I think that's going to be a huge focus. And
one of the things he said he's going to reverse is Trump issued an executive order banning the use of critical race theory in diversity training for federal employees and government contractors. He hasn't actually used the phrase critical race theory, but it's described as critical race theory.
And could you explain what that is so that people understand?
Yes, I will explain what that is. So critical race theory is, well, it's the idea that existing institutions are racist and white people maintain power at the expense of people of color. And how that's been applied in a lot of trainings is that you separate people out by race, and you require white people to be quiet while people of color speak up. And there's a lot of problems with that under Title VII. So you're going to see challenges to that.
I think the Supreme Court has already ruled on that.
They have not. I mean, there's been plenty of things about Title VII, but as far as Trump's executive order has not been through courts as of yet. And if Biden revokes it, you're going to see it switching back to what it is, and you will see court challenges. You will see court challenges no matter what,
right?
But it'll depend on which side you're coming at it for. So Biden will put that back in. Trump removed it in late 2020, September, October. And you'll see that going back in under Biden. And for most people that aren't government contractors, it doesn't make a difference. But if you're a government contractor, which there are a lot of people, or you're a federal employee, that makes a difference in how you approach your diversity training.
Yeah. Now, here's something else too that you guys should know. Government contracting, this is a realm that I play in. I'm actually a government contractor as well. And the realm that exists when it comes to government contracting is that a president has the most latitude to enforce change through government contractors. So it's like, remember the show in the movie Get Smart, and they had like the cone of silence?
Oh, yes. Love the
Yeah.
cone of silence.
Or the cone of silence. So I call it the cone of compliance, right? So in HR, it's this wide. In government contracting, it's this wide. And so there's more compliance and more strictness and adherence to and attention to compliance in government contracting than there is just regular business. And this is part of the reason why. So it's very easy for a president to exact an executive order on government contractors, which narrows that kind of compliance very much so. And it makes it actually quite suffocating. We saw that with the Obama administration when he put out 15 new executive orders. Actually, it was 12. 12 new executive orders. There was some stuff that came out from the OFCCP that actually was required from the administration. And I remember sitting in this conference for a day and looking at my girlfriend, who's also in HR, and we looked at each other and we were physically, emotionally, and mentally exhausted after listening to all this. And they're like, how the hell are we going to get all this done? But that's what a president is capable of doing. Now, what happens is that when a president invokes an executive order on government contractors, it opens the opportunity for the EEOC, the DOL, NLRB to actually take a look and say, we should be applying this in the general sense. And so that is the key and the trick, that when presidents make change to enforce something on a government contractor, they know legislatively and not necessarily legislatively, but best practices, right? Any type of ruling or determination from either of those divisions, including the OFCCP, it opens that opportunity to push that out to the rest of all businesses in the United States, not just government contractors.
And this is one of the reasons why it's important for all of us to keep our little eyeballs on this, because it may not apply to you today, but it may apply later.
Right.
And this is something that is key. And there's been a lot of back and forth. It's a huge battle between left and right. And HR gets stuck in the middle because it's like, what can we do? What can we not do? And whatever it is, it will be different under a Trump administration than under a Biden administration.
Yep, absolutely.
And like I said, it will end up in court either way, but because this is such a hotly contested topic, but until it goes through court, we comply. And then we comply after the court rules, because we comply. That's what we do. As Brenda said, there's the cone of compliance. We comply, and we like to talk about thinking out of the box and all that, but we still need to think within that compliance thing. It's not our job to protest or whatever.
Right.
You can do that on the weekend.
Exactly. Now I want to take a quick step back. So we were starting to talk about the president's first 18 months. Now I realistically believe that when President Trump came in, he made a tremendous amount of change, rapid change at a very fast pace. And so I have yet I won't tell you how many years I've been on this planet watching presidents come in.
22.
Okay, that'll work. Anyway, watching everybody, I have never seen a president like Trump move so quickly on changing things and infrastructure and putting stuff in place. I don't believe Biden's going to have that same speed, but what I do believe is that Biden is going to go back to and reevaluate, if he hasn't already. I'm sure he has, but really identify what it is that he wants to reverse, because every president coming in will reverse stuff from the prior administrator. And that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah, that's just how it is.
It's not always, majority of it is going to be focused in on national defense, something with the economy, pardons, believe it or not, and executive orders. Those are usually those four things that presidents want to focus in on. Or anything that the president has enacted in the last 2 months to the last 6 weeks of the exiting term. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of focus in on other topics, because right now, aside from COVID, there are no major employment related topics happening, and mainly because COVID has dominated all of that, right? So the provisions under the FFCRA. Oh, wow. Ooh, get choked up there. Anyway, that law is done. It's expired as of the 31st, and the new stimulus plan has made some expansion, but not a lot. All right. And I know Suzanne's itching to talk about that. And hang,
I
let
am
me
itching
finish
to talk
my
about
thought.
it. I don't have a best guess for how that will change under a Biden versus a Trump administration. As Brenda said, the FFCRA expired December 31st. It's kind of been half-heartedly tax things extended till March 31st. But I honestly think I can't guess as to how that will change depending on the president, because I don't know how the stupid disease is going to go.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. I think that'll make a big difference. I think if the vaccine works and suddenly, we have a bunch of people immune and then the rates drop, I think that'll make a huge difference.
Yeah.
But I can't speculate on how that will change, other than I can pretty much guarantee Biden's not going to pull that back.
No.
It's going to run through December 3rd. I'm through March 31st.
If anything, he's going to want to expand it. So, so absolutely. Now, here's the other piece of it. Now we have a second strain that is out of COVID. So it'll be interesting because we don't know if this vaccine will be able to knock out this second strain or not. So is it possible that that COVID is going to be haunting us for another year to 2 years? Yes, very much so, because we don't know what this other strain is going to do. And that's what happens with the virus. Viruses create other strains of the virus. That's why the flu is always so hard to battle, because it keeps mutating, it keeps changing its DNA. So watch for that as well. That doesn't necessarily, I mean, look, we're in this for the long game when it comes to COVID right now. So long game right now is probably about 2 or 3 years more.
But let's talk about things that are more cheery.
Yeah.
Like anything.
Anything other than that.
There's a couple other big things that Biden has said he will do, and one of those is a $15 an hour minimum wage from a federal level. And when it comes down to it, I don't know if it'll happen, but that is something that he has said very strongly that he wishes to see go forward. Under a Trump administration, it will remain as is. They've made zero move to change it. I don't see any reason for them now. But if we get a $15 minimum wage at a federal level, that's going to impact a lot of businesses, And employees may think it's good and it may think it's bad. There are a lot of things going in on that. But what it means for HR is, if that changes, you're going to have to be giving people raises, and B, you may have to end up doing some restructuring to manage to afford people at higher rates.
Yep. And then, not to mention, there's also the federal contractors as well. So federal contract. So there's a couple things with this, and I love that you brought this up. So yes, if the federal government changes, but in the meantime, you also have to still maintain and monitor what's going on in your own state, because the states are actually making changes to minimum wage. That's already happened here in Virginia this year, and the governor has it on track over the next couple of years to actually bring it to a $15 an hour rate. And he is a Democratic governor, which means that he is following pace with the administration. Well, the upcoming current administration. Or the anticipated one. We'll see what happens this week. And then the other piece of it is that federal contractors, they also have a unique hourly rate as well, which means that if the federal's one and the state's other, and the federal contracting is the third one, the federal contracting one is the highest. That's the one you go with. If your state is the highest, err on the side of caution and go with the state. And if it's higher than the federal contractor and your federal contractor, still go with the state. Because that's the highest one that you have to comply with, right? It's not a choice. So more and more now, our country is getting more patchwork law focused. And we've seen that. I can't believe how much we've seen that over just the last 4 years. between paid sick leave in general and now paid sick leave in terms with COVID, minimum wage rates, and marijuana laws. So, so it's made it even more challenging for HR pros and champions to be able to monitor all of this change. And if you're in a multi-state situation where you've got employees in different states and you're a multi-state employer, you got to stay on top of all of this.
And this can be really, really difficult. And I think a lot of people are not super aware of how much of an impact this makes. And I ran into a situation where a guy was looking for, he had received a job offer to work remotely in Nevada. Okay. But the company was headquartered somewhere else. I don't remember where it was headquartered. And his question was, I've smoked marijuana. Am I going to fail my drug test? And the answer to that is in Nevada, they can't prohibit you from working in a non-safety related position if you test positive for marijuana. Now, other states that have legalized marijuana still allow employers to say we're a drug-free workplace, you can't use it. But Nevada doesn't. And whoever was hiring him didn't realize that she's got to comply with this law because he's going to be working in Nevada. And you're going to find those types of things all over. And this is one of those things that as we've branched out into more remote work, I love that we can hire people from anywhere. But we talked about this in an earlier episode. It's not so easy to allow people to work in any state because of things like this and many other reasons. You can go back and listen to our other episode if you want to find out why sometimes we say no to working at home. But that's something that you're seeing with these paid sick days and drug laws, and heck, Oregon just really mixed things up with drug laws. But that's something to consider. And I think that we may see more. I think it's possible under either administration, to be honest, that we may see marijuana legalized from a federal level. I think that's possible. I think that's something that's kind of popular all over. And I think we can see it on either side. Although if I had to guess, I would guess it would be more likely to happen under a Biden administration.
Yep, I would agree. I would absolutely agree. 100%. I have literally, I'm speechless. I have nothing to add. This is like one of the first times you've left me speechless.
Awesome. And that will be all for the Real HR show today because Brenda cannot say anything else.
Did I ever tell you a story about how when I first started I have another podcast, the Best Practices in Human Resources podcast. Suzanne's been on as a guest, and it was really funny. I had somebody that I know, they're like, God, this is a really great podcast. And this was right when iPhones had changed everything. And so it leaves up the last episode. So that way, when you plug your phone into your car or, wherever your sound comes up, the podcast automatically starts. And he goes, I think it's really great. And he says, but how the hell do I shut you up? And so I said, you have to close the app and it'll stop. It was so funny. He's like, for the last
time I get in my car, there's Brenda.
I know. He said, for the last 3 weeks, every time I get in my truck, this is all I hear is you, and it's driving me crazy. I'm like, well, you need the help.
That's the best. That's the best. Yes.
So hopefully, did you have something else to add? Sorry.
Not on this topic, but I have more things that I think will change.
Hit it. Yeah.
There is an act called the Be Heard in the Workplace Act that Biden has said that he will support. And it's designed to increase protections against sexual harassment in the workplace. And the big thing for HR is it will extend the statute of liability for claims. That will allow people to make a claim up to 4 years later. So if you think you can throw things out because the employee quit, You
You
are
can't
wrong.
do that now anyway.
I know you can't now, but there's a lot of stuff that people keep on personal files
Yeah.
and whatever, and nobody thinks a lot of it. And
Yeah.
when you've got, if this passes and you've got 4 years, and it also has restrictions on non-disclosure and non-disparagement clauses. And that's something that your lawyers will sort out, but you need to be aware of it as an HR person. And the biggest thing for me on that is the extension of the statute of limitation for claims, to going from 6 months to 4 years is a big,
Yeah.
big, big change.
Yep.
And I think it really will emphasize how important it is for you to solve the problem now instead of hoping it goes away.
Yep. One thing I always used to do is anytime I had to terminate an employee, I would always identify in my calendar the 180th day after termination. And the reason why I did that is because employees have 180 days to file a complaint with the EEOC on retaliation or a couple other things. And every instant resets that 180th day clock. So I've always done that. And then I've always reported to the employer back. It's just like, well, it's 180th day. We haven't heard anything. This person, I wouldn't deem them as necessarily a risk if we had concerns about, retaliation or EEOC claims or something like that. So, but it was just, it was like, oh, I can sleep now. I don't have to worry about this person.
Right. And now you got to put that on your calendar for well, not now. If this law
Yeah,
passes,
if it goes through.
if
But
it goes in, and there's a lot of ifs, because if it passes in the same form that it's written in now,
yeah.
a lot of stuff can change. Even if under a Biden administration they go for it, it may be completely different by the time it wends its way through everything. But 4 years is a lot bigger thing. And actually, Brenda, I think that's brilliant to put it on your calendar.
Yeah, it to me, you get some peace of mind after doing it that way.
I think that's
So
really
we got
smart.
we got time for just a couple more.
All right. Do you have anything more?
No, I was done.
All right.
I was
Then
just
I have
I was
one.
I was totally gonna ride your coattails.
I have one more biggie, and that is the Paycheck Fairness Act. Um, and to be clear, it is already illegal to discriminate on the basis of sex, as far as pay is concerned. But the Paycheck Fairness Act, which Biden says that he supports, says that you can only use a bona fide factor other than sex, such as education, training, or experience to justify a pay difference. So you would no longer be able to say, oh, well, what we do is we look at their former salary at their last company and give them a 10% increase. That's no longer going to be something that you can defend yourself against in court. You can only use those education, training, and experience as reasons to have a differentiation in pay under that, which, to be fair, in HR, we should have been doing that already. But there are plenty of places that still, they want to know what your last salary was, and then they're going to base their offer on your last salary. And really, that will make it very, very difficult to do so, unless you're a small company with only one person in each position, in which case you can pay them whatever. But that's something that is on the Biden docket for implementation immediately. And that's something that the Trump administration won't do. That is not going to go through under a Trump administration. And we really should throw in this third thing of, as far as drama in the political sphere is concerned, is that a lot of this is also going to depend on what happens in this upcoming Georgia runoff election.
Yeah.
Because that will determine the control of the Senate. If we have a situation where Biden is president, Senate is Democratic, and House is Democratic, all the stuff that we've talked about on the Biden side is going to fly through. If we have a situation where the House where the Senate remains Republican while the House and the presidency are Democratic, you'll see a lot of marginal movement. And then if Trump pulls this off, and we get the Republicans in there, it'll be just like it has been for the last 4 years.
It'll be a bleep show if that actually happens. I can't edit anything, so I have to do this manually. It literally will. So if it turns out that the 12th Amendment has been invoked, you guys need to, and Trump wins, you guys need to prepare for a lot of stuff. You have to prepare predominantly what's going to happen in your community, because
Yes.
there will be more rioting. There will be more protests. There will be more physical violence. The good news is that a lot of companies have their employees working at home right now. So they're safer being at home than rather actually being in the workplace. So, because they're not forced to go out onto the streets.
Yeah, and we did do a podcast earlier about this
We did.
topic as well.
We did.
So if you want to brush up on your preparing for riots or whatever, I think it was in July. I think we did it for July 4th.
Yeah.
So end of June, 1st of July of the Relay Chart Show. See, we have lots of material out there for you to use.
That's right. Exactly. And Suzanne and I also have things that we're involved in. We've got products that we have that we put out, things like that, where you can get access to.
Yes.
She ran away.
I ran away because I
you're so sweet.
fail. Oh, it's backwards.
Did you like it?
I actually haven't looked at it because I just got it today.
Oh my gosh, really? Took a month to get it to you?
Let me tell you, Customs is got a pine cone up its rear end lately. So there's no reason why anything printed should have to go anyway. Yeah. So I just got it today.
Well, thank you.
So yeah. Yes, if you can read backwards.
Yeah, it actually looks normal on this end. Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, good. Then it looks normal.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes, Brenda has this out, which should be fabulous. As I said, I haven't looked at it, but holy crap, it does look fabulous. And yes, so that is one thing. And I do have coming up, yikes, next week. Next week, I have a webinar coming up that's going to help you implement vaccine plans, as well as, I mean, not from a medical standpoint, but from an HR compliance standpoint. I am not a doctor. And talking about COVID safety at your workplace. So that's coming up next week.
Yeah, that's so cool. And we've both been talking about that. I actually talked about it last month. I'm scheduled to do another session about something like that with a company called trainhr.com. That's not going to happen. And oh my gosh, I say next month and I'm thinking January. It is January. Geez. But the other thing that I've also got going on, and since we're having technical difficulties with our normal platform and we're using Zoom right now, I get to screen share. So I want to show you something that I put together to help you guys out. It's super simple. It costs less than 3 cups of coffee a week. And here's the cool part. It gives you updated. So we were talking about how do you stay on, make sure you stay on top of on all these changes, the state changes, the federal changes, blah, 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 right? So I'm going to show you how you can do that. So if you go to my website, brendathehrlady.com, click up members at the top, and this is a little bit under construction, and go ahead and set up your account, click and log in. Once you're in, as soon as it flips the page, there we go. You're here in this home page. If you go to, and right now we've got HR news, we've got case notes, HR tools, and videos. If you go to HR news, I love this. I am so excited about this. This is when we said that we took a break, I totally lied. I worked the whole 2 weeks. I was the biggest fibber on that one. I worked the entire time. So anyway, but check this out. We've got COVID legal updates that stream in. We've got employment law, legal updates from a wide variety of different sources that you can tap into. In addition to that, we've got specific topics, EEO1 for government, like this one's specifically government contracting, collective bargaining, disability, litigation. Then we get into the states. Look at that. So you can go to your state. Now, we're working on getting the remaining states up. We will by the end of January, and Canada, because I do have Canadian followers. We will have all 50 states streaming in.
That's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. So again, less than 3 cups of coffee in a week is the cost for this on a monthly membership. It's only $9 a month. So if you go to Brenda the HR Lady, it'll take you right to my best practices, BrendaTheHRLady.com. It'll take you to bestpractices.work, where you can go ahead and click on members. You will be able to sign up under this link as well, but go to members and you'll be able to go ahead and set up your account over there. So, and if you have problems, just reach out. We're on different platforms. Why don't you tell them all the platforms you're on, and then I'll tell them all the platforms I'm on.
So
I can't flash everybody.
That sounds bad, Brenda. We should not flash everybody ever.
But that was saucy.
I've been flashed many times actually, but that's another story. Now I forgot what to say. Okay, the easiest place to find me, I have my blog at evilhrlady.org, or my Facebook group, which is also called Evil HR Lady, and you are welcome to join that. Although now we have a question you have to answer to join, and if you don't answer it, we will not let you in. It is not a hard question, but I'm surprised at the number of people that don't answer it. It's like, come on, you're supposed to be HR people, and don't you get annoyed when people ignore what you've asked them to do? Answer the dumb question. Anyway, you're welcome to join if you can answer the question. And we talk about all things HR there. And
it's a good group.
It's a good group. It's a good group with good people in it. And I highly recommend it. And of course, I'm on Twitter too at Real Evil HR Lady. And you can find me all over. And one of the things, if you want to keep up on my website, I will be posting my upcoming webinar seminar schedule ASAP, which probably means tomorrow, but I will be posting.
And they have the best memes in that group too, by the way.
Oh my gosh, we have the best HR memes in that group, the best ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then I actually have a group called the Next Gen Women in HR Facebook group, where we don't have just one question. We have 3 you have to answer. And if you don't answer them, you don't get in, because this is all HR people. And we want to make sure that we have the right people in position there. And then also, have you heard of the newest social platform yet?
Well, there's
called Clubhouse.
No, I have not heard of Clubhouse.
Oh my gosh. So I'm on Clubhouse. I am at Brenda the HR Lady on Clubhouse. And if you have not heard about Clubhouse, I will tell it to you here in a second. So I am on HR. Oh my gosh. I'm so used to having this all printed out. So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook at Brenda the HR Lady. You can also find me on Twitter and Clubhouse at Brenda the HR Lady. I'm also on LinkedIn, where you can find me just by using my name. And it's spelled right there on the screen, so I don't have to say it out loud. And then we're here at therealhrshow.com. But let me tell you about Clubhouse. Oh my God, I love Clubhouse. It is going to revolutionize everything, and it's already making changes. Clubhouse you can only get in by invite only. So if you have an iPhone, I can only tell you how to find it on an iPhone. I have no idea about an Android, but you want to look for the Clubhouse app. You go ahead, sign up, get on the wait list, because if you have a contact that is in there and it pops up that if they have an invite credit, they can go ahead and hopefully invite you. Once somebody realizes that you need to get in, or you're looking to get in, they can go ahead and let you in. They invite you into the group. It's only by invite, because it's so popular and it's so effective, and there's so much to it that they're making sure that the system isn't, the server isn't overwhelmed with all the amount of people on. But what it is that when you get into the main hall, that's what it's called, you can look for different rooms. You go into a room and you're listening. There's no visual, there's no typing, there's none of that. You are listening to speaking moderators, and you can get invited up to the stage and actually engage in the conversation. It's fantastic. So today I'll be on Clubhouse. You'll see me popping in on Clubhouse and a couple of different topics. Be focused doing on stuff on government contracting, but most importantly, like today at 1:00 Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be up there talking about, I think, yeah, 1:00. I'm going to be talking about getting ahead in HR. So it is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. And it has its own unique culture. It has its own unique groove. But there's so much to glean from going into this. And here's the awesome part. If somebody's being a bonehead while they're in there, moderator only has to do is just take their ability away to speak. That's it. And you can follow people. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. It doesn't have a direct DM application. So you either set up your Twitter or you set up your Instagram feed, and or you link your Clubhouse to either one, and then you can DM people that way. So I only do DMs through Instagram, through Clubhouse, but it is highly, 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 highly amazing. And the conversations that are taking place in Clubhouse right now are incredible. People are helping each other solve problems. People are out there helping people how to actually use Clubhouse. And it is a phenomenal way to network, because HR people, we don't have the ability to go out and network. Get on Clubhouse and start networking.
Well, there we go.
Listen to what I have to say up there too. So anyway, please.
Now I'm speechless, and I've learned something entirely new. I didn't even know.
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. So yes, I am on Clubhouse and I absolutely love it. The problem is that you can get sucked into it. I was in a room talking about government contracting for 5.5 hours and answering a ton of questions. The good side is that I actually have 3 people that are enrolling in my 4-day government contracting course for new government contractors. So
That's the fantastic.
yeah, it's pretty great. So anyway, so we're going to be back again next Monday. Have no idea if it's going to be a blank, bland, vanilla kind of setting like you see here, or we will have our flashy stuff back up again, but I'm going to certainly get production working on that. And look, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll talk to y'all later.